testing just offered during the school day. 25 seniors took that test today. Speaking of seniors, there is a senior financial aid night in September with the Assistant Director of Financial Aid from OIT presenting the information. Ms. Peterson presented the same information to the seniors in their Career Ed Personal Finance class earlier in the day. And earlier this week, the seniors had a visit from the OIT admissions counselor, who was able to share some wonderful information about OIT, what OIT has to offer. Students who were not thinking of OIT last week were taking another look at after their presentation. Senior has also ordered their graduation caps, gowns from Jostine's as they started to take care of some of those big decisions.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any questions? Thank you. It was a good report. All right. Next up is a student report. 6.3. Susan?
So I heard that Efficient Tandy gave you the official state 43 page. Okay. I don't really, I made a little about 5-page one. If you want to look at the state one, it has all of the schools in the state. Otherwise, this is just the state and Lakeview's, if you want to look at it. I have one for anyone that would like one.
All right. We like that.
I'm going to give you a condensed version. It's required that that report be put on our website, and Tandy's already done that. It's under the latest news headline. My problem today was I looked under community, and when you went to community, it was also there, but you couldn't open it up from that one. So I think we can fix it.
Okay.
This, why not? Or they could look at it on the front page, but I think pretty soon it's not going to be hot news, so I think it's going to be under that other one.
Useful information.
Okay. This report compares years of EL students in 14-15 and 15-16. The bad news is, this is what the state has done, they've changed those tests. So they also, after they collated all that information, they said you can't always compare math scores because the cohorts have changed, the grades. You can't compare the ELPA, they call it, English Language Proficiency Assessment. You can't compare those scores because one was ELPA, the first version, and then the next one was called ELPA 21. So those, you can't compare those numbers either. But let me give you a couple of things that I wrote down I thought were interesting. In 14-15 there were 43 students, and in 15 EL students identified, and in 15-16 there's 32. So the numbers vary each year. The estimated number of children in poverty was about 25% here in Lakeview, and around the state it's 18%. We have a fairly high number of newcomers compared to the state also. Our average is a little over 18%, and the state's average is around 7%. The next report that they're going to give next year, they are telling us we'll have more information that we can compare each cohort, each number, like math scores across the board we can compare, and the ELPA 21 scores will be the same, so we can compare those. Our numbers are similar to the state average for the length of time that the students are in the program. Our numbers are similar also to the state average for the length of time. Oh, it said our report, now we have a couple of things that stand out. Our absenteeism for our ELs is a little higher than the state. This also shows that our students with disabilities are also a little bit higher than what the state numbers show. Sometimes I think it's because we're such a small school district. So one student or one family that moves in, yeah, it really throws that percentage. We do have very good graduation rates because both of those years it showed 100%. So I think that's something to celebrate because, and that is our goal, is to get the kids to graduate.
And what's the state average on that?
Oh,
61% in 14-15.
yeah.
And
61,
80.
and 80.60 for the next year.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're doing a good job with that. Let's see. There is also a category that reports on the number of students enrolled in post-secondary schooling. And even though our numbers are really small and they put a little asterisk and they don't report it, I know personally that we have a number of EL students, former EL, they were in the program, but they've gone on to post-secondary instruction, some in 4 years. There's a number of students that are taking classes at KCC also. So if they would count our numbers, I think it would look very good. This report gives us an idea of where we can improve, but it also shows that we're being successful since the students are graduating. I wanted to share just a little bit. Legally, that's what we were supposed to talk about. We're supposed to present that, put it on our website, and then we can move on. But I want to tell you, because I think you maybe have heard about this grant that we've received. It's called HB 3499. And it is because we're a small school district and our EL numbers are fairly high, considering our area. So they've given us money. And look at Janet's going, yeah, money. We have to deal with it.
Lots of money.
And I know there's lots of places, there's other places in needs, but I think we're doing a good job trying to target how we can help these students, and the trickle-down effect is going to reach other students too. So this next year, I just sent a proposal up to the state, and it has us hiring a math consultant that's very well known, and she's going to come in for, I can't remember how many hours. It's about 12 days. She's coming in every other month and going to visit K through 12. She works with every teacher down in the elementary and the 3 math teachers at the high school. And no, I take that back, 6, because she's also going to talk to the special ed department up there. We have to hire subs to cover those teachers when they come out of the classroom. So that is a substantial expense. The other thing that we're going to do with this year's funding is summer school for the elementary students and credit retrieval at the high school for those kids. We have to work really hard to try to keep the kids on track for graduation.
Credit retrieval?
That's what they call it.
Which is what?
So it's when kids have failed a class and they need to make that class up, like English, science, or math. And we have been using Odyssey. It's a computer program online that the kids can retrieve it. So what's nice about it is if kids really understand a concept, it'll just have them go in, look at a few things, and take a quiz, and they can keep moving forward. So they don't need the seat time. They just need to get a passing grade so they can earn that credit.
And right now we've identified 7 probably students at the high school level that I know 7 for sure. And Lonnie said that there was a possibility of 8 that need to be able to use that service. And we may be able to offer it during the school year, and before it had been offered only in the summer. But we did pay for some funding last summer with an aide that was there for the students. Now we didn't have fabulous attendance. You know, we got the kids on board. We said it'd be easier to come in the summer for 6 weeks instead of taking the class again with, you know, not your peers, like going into a freshman English class. So some of them came on board and earned some credit, but it wasn't as high as I'd like for it to do. So I'm hoping that offering it during the school year, we can get it done more efficiently. Okay, and the last little bit of money was used for family math and science night at the elementary. We want to do some kind of outreach to connect families of the students. And so this, Janice Heigl is her name, she likes to do that kind of thing. So we're going to make some math games, we're going to play the math games, the kids will take them home and they can use that as we're going to use that, some money to support that. And since I heard the high school just say it, we really need to do a good job of making sure that parents in a bilingual setting understand college application process and financial aid. So I kind of wrote that in, and I'm hoping that we can make that happen. And I guess in closing, I feel like we're doing a good job serving our EL students and their families. Do you have any questions?
Do you happen to help them with job applications too?
Hey, Barry, you know what? I want to help I've had some high school students, and you know, they try to get in, but they don't know how to fill that stuff out, Barry. It is. And I don't know that they know the expectations either, because I had one student that went one summer and he worked out at the Forest Service for a little bit, but he wasn't hired back the next year. And I don't know, I didn't know who to talk to say, did he not meet your expectations? That he wasn't hired again? Or what the problem, what the hang up was? Because I thought that might be a good fit.
We're seeing such low numbers of high school seniors from Lakeview apply for jobs here locally, both at Oregon Department of Forestry, I think, and for Forest Service and BLM. And the Forest Service application in particular is difficult on USA jobs. So.
And what we're seeing in the ones that do apply are ranking low with the application, and then their interviews are fairly poor too.
So maybe if we target not only application, how to fill it out with help, but the interview skills also, that would be something that would...
One of the things that's coming up is that happens here the next month.
Okay.
And I think you have more time.
Yeah, we're in January through March.
It's November. It's due November for the Forest Service. So.
I know that you guys have had staff members that have called and come in and, you know, used our labs at the high school and filled out applications and stuff, but whatever, you know, we can do to help improve that or increase the students, because, you know, I see a lot of kids go in there and get some support, but obviously their applications aren't, probably they get started and maybe don't finish. I don't know what's going on.
Those,
especially the kids.
they're intimidating, those applications are. I did have the one student that came down, that got the job the first time, but I really didn't know how to follow through with the second
I can help you with
part of that.
And there was a skill to all of it, even writing the resume. It wasn't even until I got to grad school that they started teaching me how to do that, and there was like 6 years prior to that, just being set loose, you know?
I think most of my kids got some government jobs, but they also had parents that could read those applications and help them fill it out. And these kids don't have that. So we need to, as a school, that's something maybe that I can talk to the high school about. And we can try to say, especially target the kids.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thankfully, we brought back personal finance a while back, and we have personal finance for these kids that are doing some of these life skill things. And Ruth Ann had these kids filling out their financial aid forms and doing all kinds of things. And so if we could help in the classroom supporting that, they would get a little bit more practice with some of that. But I wanted to add to Susan's presentation to you that I used to do this Title I job that Susan's doing, and as I got busier, I kept pushing things off as history for some of you because we've got so many new board members. And she has just done an incredible job educating herself and running this program for this district. She does it on her own time because she has a full class load to teach as well. And she submits all the reports. She works with ODE and and then with Janet with the financing part for these grants. And she just does a great job making sure that that population of kids is taken care of.
Thank you. I said to her the other day, I don't have any experience with grant work. Susan, I don't have any experience. And she said, you think I did? Just jump right in, she said.
On the job training, just like everything else.
Yeah.
I'll echo Susan's remarks too, that Susan A. has done a wonderful job in this district as far as the LL program. And she started out as a paraprofessional, and I twisted her arm until I made her go get that degree. And
Now wait a minute, I had a degree. I didn't have a teaching degree. Because a long time ago I said, I'm not going to be a teacher.
let's go for the licensure then.
That's exactly what he told me. He said, you get a license, you're going to make a lot more money.
Yeah.
And he didn't tell you how many more hours
how
you
many
were
more
going to work.
hours it would be.
Anyway, best
Thank
decision
you.
we ever made.
Yeah, I understand why. All right, thank you, Susan. 6.4, last one on reports is principal reports.
Would you like me to go first? You always go first, okay. You always let me go, you always let me go first. Okay, at the elementary school, it's been it's been a pretty smooth start. We've had a couple little sheriffs that have given us a little run for our money, but it's been a pretty smooth start. Enrollment dropped just slightly. We had a couple of kids whose parents were planning to move out of the area. We knew about it. And then we had a couple families leave right after the first of the school year, and they were just wonderful families that we were sad to lose. We're sending out our first round of attendance letters to curb chronic attendance. The state of Oregon considers chronic absenteeism at 10%. So right now that's about 5 days of school, 4 or 5 days of school, and we have lots of kids that have already missed 4 or 5 days of school. State report cards will go out in our buildings at fall conferences. So the state report cards are already into the state, our pieces of them. They calculate all the data, but Mr. Cahill, Mr. Zizet, and I have to write a letter and put some other things in there. And they're in there being validated. They're checking everything, and they'll come out with our fall conferences. They'll come out for our parents to look at our ratings with our test scores. I'm working on hiring placements for Mary Kuhn and Tammy Sims. Tammy's at a half-time position right now, and Mary plans to retire in January. And those are pretty tall orders. So.
It's January, not June?
January.
Yeah. So those jobs are posted. We are working on a project with Janet over here. We had some donations come in for after Jerry Owens' passing, and Carol wanted the money designated to go to the playground, and there's some money sitting there. Janet has a pot of money towards the playground project for paving, but there's a little pot of money in Jerry Owens' ASB account that we would like to use to purchase some swings for the playground. The old ones are in pretty rough shape, so we'd like to purchase a new set of swings for the ADP playground and get those in as soon as possible. We talked a little bit about PLCs, or professional learning communities, and the Fremont, Hay, and Union staff has kind of just taken this and run with it. They're amazing. They wanted to have a school environment PLC, they wanted to have a communication PLC, and then a spirit PLC, which is school spirit. And then they made up another one, and they meet on their own time, which is all just has to do with behavior and incentives. They meet every week. They have plans for some murals, some new bulletin boards. We don't know when we'll get the financing to do some renovations in our buildings, so they would like to spruce up those buildings and on their own time with a little bit of paint and some elbow grease and make that a better place for the kids. So we'll see what happens. We've got some project ideas in for approval from myself and Mr. Cahill to just look at design and things like that. One of the changes, we kind of talked at the beginning of the year about changes, and you guys wanted to be more aware of changes that we were making. We did make a change out at Union about parking. The north end of the building where the K1 kids come in, we were running into some safety issues in that our buses unload right there, and we had parents parking there. We had a very near miss with a child that was tying a shoe, and the parent that was trying to back out didn't see them. And our bus drivers were paying attention and took care of it, and the child was safe. So what we've done is we've sent out a letter to our parents and asked them to please pick up and drop off over by the gym, which alleviates some of that traffic. There's no parking signs already up. I put in a request. Jim had the guys go out real quickly. There's no parking signs up there, so those buses can unload without traffic, and then everybody else is supposed to park to the west towards the teachers to alleviate some of those safety issues.
That's good to know.
They just went up a couple days ago, Barry, you're probably still safe. And then something we're doing that's a little bit different is on our Wednesdays, our Wednesday early release time that we're very thankful for is we do PLC work in these groups, but we do grade level meetings, we do staff meetings, we do training. Today, Amy Fortune came from the ESD and did a writing refresher course for our teachers. But we're doing something a little different in the next couple of weeks, and we're doing a field trip, so to speak. And Sandy Lisney has done what we call Storyline, and that's a writing project. And I think Barry has seen it, his kiddos are in that classroom. And it's based around minions, and the minions are characters. And each one of them is a different minion, and they've had to write a character description. But then the kids also designed a lab, and there's all these vocabulary words over the board, and they develop a whole writing project out of this. And she went, and House Bill 3499 paid for her to become a trainer. So we're going to go out and we're going to take a little field trip to Union because all of her stuff's is all over her entire wall. and take teachers out there for training in the next couple of weeks. So, any questions?
I had one in talking about paving the playground. I remember last fall we did a walkthrough with basketball courts and how's that going?
We're working
Are we
on
short?
getting all that. We are short to pave, yes, and we need some bids for that. But not too, we're getting close. And then basketball hoops and those things will be going in anytime this fall. So, but the fields are used all the time. UASO soccer uses, we actually had to kick them off of it for practice because they were just, between that and recess, it was just too much use. So they can just use it for games and practice on the other sides, so.
It occurred to me the other day that we did that walkthrough last fall and I'm just curious.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, I'm up. Well, Imogen stole most of my thunder there. But it was really nice today. We had PSAT and SAT testing going on last Wednesday, and today we added SAT to that. And it was nice to have 25 of our seniors in taking that test. It makes the day much quieter too because we turn the bells off. It's kind of a nice day. But that's awesome that we have that for our kids. Our enrollment figures we got kids coming and going pretty hard right now, and we're at 109 in the middle school and 257, 256, one left today, at the high school. So those numbers are up just a little bit from high school than what we had anticipated. All kinds of things going on. Our attendance letters went out yesterday also for our first kind of shot with our chronic attendance issues. And one of the things I wanted to add to what Susan said was those chronic attendance issues are also, that accounts excused absences. That's just not unexcused. By state law, if they're gone 10% of the time, they're chronic absence. What doesn't count in that is school activities. So a student's gone on a cross-country meet or an FFA trip. That doesn't count as a school absence. It doesn't get reported as that to the state. So OSAA just had their final recommendation on redistricting and reclassification. That will get voted on Monday. I'm attending that meeting. I'm the delegate assembly member for our league to the OSAA. So that will be finalized on Monday. What you see on the website, if you've looked at it, is pretty much final. There will be, I think, one change. I think Rogue River will be allowed to play down into that league. I've contacted both Bonanza and Rogue River, and both of them intend to play football in that league, which will help our football schedule immensely. Problem with that now is we're going to have teams that we've developed relationships with we're going to have to drop. And I assume this community wants us to keep our relationship with MODOC would be my guess as top priority for non-league games. And plus we beat them 3 years in a row, so we kind of like that, we're going to keep doing that. Just thought I'd throw that in there. It really will help most of our programs that will be in that league, because we're going to have more league contests at home because the league is bigger. It will also help softball and baseball, which will not be in that league because that'll be a special district because 1A doesn't have enough teams to have their own state championship, so they join at the 2A level. But that'll be a special district, but it'll have more teams in it. So you'll probably end up with more like 8 or 9 home games in baseball and softball instead of the ones that we have now, which are pretty limited. I think we only have 4 dates that are league home dates right now. Some of those are double headers though. But most of them will keep kind of the same configuration. It will not affect soccer's. Soccer will be the same because it's 3A, 2A, 1A combined now. So going down to 2A won't matter. We'll still probably be in the same special district. I have been squashing some rumors. I've taken several phone calls in the last week. Rumors are getting out that we're dropping this sport. There's nobody to play at this level. I've heard all kinds of things, and luckily some parents have actually called and asked the question instead of spread the rumors. So if you hear rumors, we are keeping soccer. That was one that came to me today. I had a community member ask me, I just heard a rumor down at a local business that we're dropping soccer. We are not. We have soccer. I think people look at the 2A level and they think, well, none of those teams have soccer. We'll still have the same soccer leagues. The other one was that we wouldn't have anybody to play in basketball, and that's not true. We will. So if you hear those things, help me out with that. It won't affect cross-country, wrestling, golf. Those are all special districts that will remain pretty much the same. There'll be some changes in it just because some schools are moving out of the 2A level or into the 3A level. So some teams may be out and they're deleted. Other things that are happening at the high school, Avid Parent Night is October 19th. And I believe that we're going to get an agenda. The agenda was kind of put out today, and we'll finalize it and invite parents to that, and that's a good thing for our parents to go to. we're winding down our fall sports and kind of getting ready to gear up winter sports. Believe it or not, middle school girls basketball starts October 30th with their first practice. So we've already gotten signups out for that. And that's gonna, I have a meeting next Tuesday with our girls basketball coaches to finalize how that's gonna look. One of the highlights I felt for homecoming week that wasn't touched on by Imogen was the fact that Susan asked several of our high schoolers to come down and be involved in an assembly at the elementary school. And I thought that was awesome that those kids get to do that. And it's interesting because we spend a lot of time talking to those kids about how to behave and that kind of stuff. And then they get the opportunity to talk in front of the kids and you kind of hear yourself coming out in their words. But that's just a great experience for those kids to get to go down and do that. It's very fun.
And they got to demonstrate their football skills.
That didn't go so well.
It went well on the field that night, Dusty. It didn't go well
that's
for
right.
them.
We played a good game that night, but we missed the ball a couple times. It was interesting to listen to Barry's comments about our kids, our seniors not applying for jobs or they're falling short in applications and interview skills. Because that's one of the things that we're hitting really hard with the AVID is the college readiness piece. And I was going to say prior to you saying that, I hope this isn't a moot point now, I'm impressed with the number of colleges we have coming visiting our campus and the number of kids we have going out to college campuses. I think getting a kid on a college campus at any time, especially from a rural area like ours, is eye-opening for them. And I think it's so valuable for them to go see that those things exist and something for them to shoot for. And we start with it with our middle school AVID kids actually go visit college campuses. And so hopefully what you're going to see here in the near future is our kids are better on that. I know with us adding the personal finance class and the careers component of that Ruth Ann and her class are doing things like interviewing skills, resume writing, making sure they get recommendations from teachers and those kind of things. So hopefully you'll see an increase in that, and it's something that we're pushing pretty hard. Progress reports are going out this week, and I think I pretty much hit on everything that Imogen did. So, any questions you guys have?
What's the general 3A line for numbers?
It is, it's
300?
No. To become a 3A school out of the 2A, I think the bottom line is 206, and we were at 202 with our ADM. I understand ADM is average daily membership, so when I report that we have 257 kids, that's not adjusted for socioeconomic status, and that's what we have right now. Later in the year, we might have 240, and you start looking at how many days you have those at those reporting dates. That's where the ADMs figure that. And so the numbers I give you is always going to be higher than what gets reported as our average. And then on top of that, they take our SES factor, which is our free and reduced number, and they times that by our student body, and they take away 25% of those kids off of our count. Because what they know is that schools that have a higher SES do not compete as high in team sports, or as well in team sports, for lots of reasons. Oregon did a study a few years ago, and some of those main reasons were if you come from an affluent area where all the kids can afford to go to camps, there are teams that take their entire team, schools take their entire teams to team camps. I know when I was at La Pine, I think we'd be similar here, we took our football team to a team camp one year and not a single lineman could go. So we're over there playing with running backs playing line, and that doesn't really translate to your season then. So there's a big difference in their ability to compete. So they take those kids away, so that's why we're at a 202 level. Rogue River that's asking to play down fell two above it, they're at 208. And they're having a hard time competing, and they don't even compete in football. They dropped down and played 8-man football right now from a 3A school, which is pretty amazing. So that's the cutoff, low cutoff. The upper cutoff changed too, but I don't have that off the top of my head. So, any other questions? Okay.
Thanks. Thank you. All right, moving on here, old business.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm bringing back our school year calendar to be amended and approved through the collective bargaining process with the certified employee group. One of the things they asked if we could do is take those, what used to be half professional development, half grade days, and make them all grade days, and we agreed to that. The days on the calendar that are affected are November 3rd and April 6th, and basically what it amounts to is just a change in the listing or the activity on the calendar as far as what the day entails. It just, like November 3rd, I'm looking at it right now, end of first quarter, grade day, no school, period. End of story. Before it would have said prep day or professional development day, that would have been in there, that's now gone. So the teachers have a full work day on those 2 dates to prepare for conferences and grade prep. So that's the change.
I move to approve the 2017-18 LCSD 7 instructional calendar for kids as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the calendar to be as it was presented. Is there any further discussion on the matter? Okay, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed?
Thank you.
Passes. All right, new business.
CT revitalization grant, 2 years ago we put in for it, we were not successful, so Fred, pardon me,
We're on the waiver, Will. We're on the waiver.
on the waiver, oh, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead here. Rusty, I apologize.
Am I supposed to present this one?
Yeah.
Okay. That's why you're apologizing?
Yeah, I apologize for jumping ahead.
We asked for a waiver of adoption of our science materials just because of budget reasons. And so we had to fill out a waiver and present it. And we're kind of going with what we had, except for middle school science. We bought some online materials to help those instructors out, be able to deliver that instruction that they needed, but pretty much using what we had. And so that's detailed in there. Do you have any questions on it?
The reason for it is
The reason for it is to adjust our budget. I think the science adoption, we made your budget this last year to the tune of, do you remember how many dollars it was?
Give me that look.
Isn't it like $87,000?
Roughly.
And we're saving pennies, we decided to waive the science adoption.
So how long can we go that way?
Another 7-year cycle. That's usually how the cycles go. So basically
This is
this
just
last,
a postponement.
Yeah.
So,
so they possibly, if there is like a year where, if they see a real high need, and a year where it's elective subject textbooks where the budget need isn't quite as high, there's a possibility they could look at that year as a science adoption year. That's been done in this district before.
That's it.
okay.
Excuse my interruption.
I move to approve the request for approval to postpone selection and use of adopted instructional materials for the 2017-18 as presented.
Second.
All right, been a motion to, and approve, motion and a second to approve, to postpone the selection and use of adopted instructional materials. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? CTE revitalization grant
Well, I guess I'm a
application.
CT guy, so I'm really super excited about it.
Yeah, I
So,
can.
2 years ago, we weren't successful, as I started in my little speech, and we gave it a shot again. 2 years ago, it was 400,000, this year's 350,000. I think, I'm gonna let turn over the thread here in a second. I think the thing we learned from that grant, we were just scattered all over the place. We were pivot system at the ag farms, you're going with, forest and natural resources curriculums, to, revigorating the shop. And what we learned on the successful grants is take something very specific and target in on that. We look at that shop is old, that shop needs attention, it needs ventilation, it needs, a new power source, because we, advanced the amount of welders in that shop. When you and I were in the shop way back when, it was pretty much all arc welders, today it's arc and MIG. And so, anyway, included in that is that room where the paint booth is. The paint booth hasn't, we have 2 teachers now who do not see the paint booth as a practical part of their programs. The one thing we desperately need is a small engines laboratory, so we're gonna take the paint booth out and convert that into a small engines laboratory. That's what we're looking at. With all the welding and everything, and gas on the small engines over here a few feet away, it's just, for a safety standpoint, it just makes sense. So, anyway, but that's the lead off and Grant. Fred can tell you the rest.
Hand you out a real simple sheet. And the only reason this is in yellow is because that's what Christie's printed. So when I ran them, you get yellow. So as Will just was saying, this is just kind of the Reader's Digest condensed version of the grant. And basically it's requesting $350,000, and of that, probably 2/3 to 3/4 of that will go to bringing in 3-phase 220/440 voltage, moving a power pole so that we get the middle school and the welding shop off the same circuit, because when we light everything up, things get crazy at the middle school. Rewiring the entire shop to allow us to run 10 arc TIG machines and 10 MIG machines simultaneously. Basically pulling the small engines area out and literally creating a huge fabrication space in the middle of that space. Changing the ventilation so that it isn't dark in there in the winter when it's going full blast, and then basically changing out the paint room to a small engines laboratory and creating a small bullpen up front in case we come up with the ability to grow into power sports. You know, there's a huge need for small engine techs in ag, but this community there's a huge need for power sports kinds of folks. And so basically that's kind of, we're going to be doing some research on that. The biggest part of this grant is the purchasing of the new equipment, those kinds of things. But there'll also be about $100 grand that's put into, well, not 100 grand, about 70 grand that's put into the development of mentors and mentorship program people for these students. What we'd like to do is get the students connected with a mentor who can help them, you know, allow them to shadow, allow them to see the careers at their places of work, put them in, for lack of a better term, put them in some sort of a group that can basically serve as not only mentors, but their own network. And so if a young man or a young lady has worked for me, then maybe I can call up Will and say, hey, I got this kid, I can't use him right now, but maybe you can. And so we're trying to help the students get have an excellent program like you'd find at a community college, technology-wise, and then have the mentorship to connect them to folks in the industry. And we've got folks in the community. We have a ESD program that has won some awards that will help us, and that's what we're looking to do. We've narrowed it down to just the welding, and go from there. So, questions?
No, just fingers crossed.
We are, Fred went out and kind of studied some other schools that had winning grants, talked to the people, looked at the grants, to model ours into what theirs was. And, so anyway, we're really hoping it gains some ground, and I'm really excited, you know, especially as a former manager, to see some good things happen in that shop. So,
Do we have a date when we'll hear back?
First week in November, because if you read through the timelines, basically what we said is if they notify us that first week, we'll put it in orders to go out to parents that this is happening, and they can see me or see Will or see somebody who would show them exactly what's going to happen. So.
The big thing is connection with industry, and we have been out doing that. Fred's been out with Paul Motors. Fred and I have a meeting with Kelly Peel of Salt Creek Manufacturing tomorrow morning. He has a business out there that really builds ski chutes, cattle panels, that type of thing. So we're gonna get them, try to get him on as a collaborating partner in this thing. Harvey's blacksmith, correct?
Actually, Harvey, when I called him today, his comment was, he goes, I may be retired before you finish your grant, so I don't know if I want to do this. So
Yeah.
he's looking at retiring in the next 2 years, and he goes, I'd hate to hang some kid out and leave him, so. But he's been the only no so far, so.
Well, the discussion I had with Kelly Peel is he's always looking for welders.
Oh, yeah.
And he sees this as a very unique opportunity to grow and hire our own, so.
Are you the author, Brett?
I am one of many authors.
One of many. Okay.
I did the original, then it's been read by, Lisa has read it. Amy, Marcus did a tremendous job of proofing it. You know, you read something so long, you get blind to it.
Yeah.
And last night when I was doing final write-overs, then I look at this one comment she put, she goes, do not understand how this paragraph has anything to do with the topic that is part of this. And I read it and I'm like, God, paste, delete, goodbye. This is not even, I'm like, what the heck was I thinking when I wrote that? I mean, it's like, that has absolutely nothing to do with this part of the grant. I'm like, so, probably wrote that one like either early in the morning or late in the evening. So, but, Will's been reading through it. He should, I don't know if you got it all read today, but I finished it about 4:30 this morning, and so I stopped last night late, and when I had 3 thes in one line, I'm looking down and I maybe need to sleep for just a little while and come back to it.
I read the whole thing this morning before we shipped it off to the board.
Yeah.
I made a few more edits,
Okay.
not too much.
Yeah.
So,
And then just one more question.
Sure.
The power sport part.
Mhm.
What are some of the ones you're thinking of there?
As in jobs or as in?
You said the small engine, perhaps including power sports.
Yeah, that will be up to what the community decides. I have my personal prejudices, but I basically have to go with what the community would like to have. You know, I have and the kids are all, and it's going tomorrow, okay, I wanna highlight that. I have a jet ski sitting in the back of my wood shop that I'm working on with a friend. And so, you know, they're like, what kind of power sports would you have? And I go, me? I go, I like these little things. And of course they're like, well, what about the razors and the quad? And I'm like, I like these, you know, but
Yeah.
it'll be what the community deems that it finds. It might be snowmobiles. It could be the little quads or the little razor kinds of things. Could be jet skis. It'll come down to, you know, what does the community want, and then what we can educate them for. I mean,
the big thing there's never any shortage of is 4-wheelers on ranches.
yeah. Chainsaws, yeah, lawnmower. We do a lot of damage to lawnmowers right now. So we took our team picture today. Mark Louis' brother owns a True Value in Fallon, and so he had a trade your old mower in for a new one sale this spring, and so we got the trade-ins, and so basically we had like 10 little different mowers of different types. We got an aerator, we got thatcherizer, we got a, oh my god, 55-inch riding mower. And so we've been going through troubleshooting no starts, because none of them started, okay? And with the exception of the 52-incher, we've got them all going. Now we understand why they were given to us, because if you ever need vector control, we'll take some of these mowers out there, because they'll kill all the mosquitoes in a wide band, because they smoke like... So now we have the opportunity to go to the next section with the same engines and say, okay, now we'll do simple rebuilds and go from there. So, and literally that's it. And then we'll start phasing in maintenance, because to me, in small engines, maintenance is the key. I mean, I will bring them in my 1978 Toro snowblower that has absolutely zero safety effects on it, and tell most of my students, I go, this thing has never been apart, never had the cylinder head off, and it's older than most of your parents. And it starts on the first pull, and it's because it gets maintenance all the time. So, but in the end, it'll be what the community wants. So.
But are you in need of chainsaws?
We will be later, because right now we're in 4-stroke, but as we get deeper into the term, and especially like the last month from like right before Christmas to the end of the semester, we do a 2-stroke section, and would love to have some chainsaws, weed whackers, any of that kind of stuff that's 2-stroke.
Before Christmas, so.
Yeah, just right before
I'm
Christmas.
not sure that'll fit in our timeline, but we're looking at swapping out a bunch of our stuff.
Yeah, yeah, those things are fun because they're a little simpler, but they are a little persnickety.
Yeah, I'd rather give them to you than the trash can.
Yeah, we tear them up. Last year we did a lot of failure analysis on them. That was really fun, and kids are tearing them apart and figuring out what happened.
Thanks, Rich.
Yep, so we officially need your approval on it.
Yeah, move to approve the CTE revitalization grant application as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the CTE revitalization grant. All in favor of this grant, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right, number 9, consent agenda.
There for your approval.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 10, announcements.
Yes, so I'd like to remind you of the OSBA regional meeting in Paisley on October 24th. I believe Tandy is probably taking the head count for that, correct? And dinner will be served. The theme of the whole evening will be the recent legislative session. So that will give you the complete update as far as what happened in the 2017 Oregon legislature. So it should be interesting. I am going to take the school district expedition. If anybody wants to ride up in it, we've got here at front, 5:15. Okay, anyway.
I'm planning on going, but I'm gonna be working up in Christmas out here
Okay.
that day.
Everyone was home. Okay. So just let Tandy know if you're going, and she can get a hold of you guys.
All right. Any other announcements? Next board meeting agenda items.
Well, we are going to have a very lengthy work session related to a new set of policies. You just heard me mention the Oregon State Legislature, so the consequence of the Oregon State Legislature is lots of policy. So we're probably, I'm not sure right now, to get the policies out that are unique to this district. As soon as I get those, I will go ahead and set the meeting time as far as the work session goes, and maybe try to bring something in to eat. We were initially thinking 5 o'clock, but like I said, we will keep you as we move along.
We vote on that?
Per Mr. Kelly's, wonderful lecture 2 weeks ago, I'm working on some stuff as far as me, evaluation, my goals. So I'm going to try to present a first draft of my goals, how they relate to how you should see me evaluated this year, based on all those 9 criteria. So I'm going to get that presented to you at the next meeting. And then the district goals, apart from everything else, grants and everything else, I'm trying to do my own listening sessions with all the people out there and get input as far as the district goals. We're keeping the current district goals that we submitted to you last year. We're just going to kind of, improve on them, change them to whatever situations that may have, transpired this year, and channel those goals for 2017-18.
I guess I'd be interested in following up with him on his discount offer to come back.
Yeah, we can talk to him about that too.
He doesn't put out discounts very often.
Get a plan of attack with him and bring you back, because he's really good.
We're gonna have to talk about policies. The time or worth, he had a handful of policies that were district specific. to address some of those, whether
Yeah, I like
it's
having-
the out-of-town trips, including AR policies, those
Yeah.
sort of things.
Yeah, let's say that's a great idea, Dustin. We'll be getting back to talk about some of those things. Since then, I have been going through.
Or just, I don't know,
Policies.
if we need him as much as the ones that he brought out, kind of highlighted, and maybe we need to update our own
I hear you.
policies.
Yeah,
And
I've
that,
already been kicking some stuff out to administrators already to look at and everything, so.
and then there's, I don't know, maybe Janet, correct me if I'm wrong, we never approved the classified bargaining. Did we?
With the raise and.
Was it in there? Oh, one?
I think we're classified as, we did them all.
Did 'em all.
We did
We were all three
confidential,
together.
administrative, certified, and classified, we're all in one meeting, and I
About
wanna say.
2 meetings ago.
Yeah.
I
It
remember
was-
doing one of them, but I don't remember if it was all of them. or
It was all
just
three of them,
certain
and it
people.
was the meeting before Steve Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
May have missed that one.
I
Okay,
guess
That's all I have.
that's it.
Move, we adjourn the meeting.
Moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Mark.